Hello, everybody, and welcome. Whew, I made it on today. Didn't know if I would actually make it today. I was sort of getting caught up with a lot of little things and stuff. Getting looking at not only the astrology but my own plans and what I'm doing. I'm always things going on in my head. So a few things. Hello, my name is Mary June Tracy, psychic medium, spiritual love of life coach. And because one of the big things that I wanted and I started off this year to do was to build my YouTube channel. And that's becoming a huge part where I know YouTube, some people are saying YouTube is, this or it's not that good, it's not that. But I still see a lot of growth in there where if people are going over to Rumble or some other places, that leaves opportunity for me at this time and to eventually move into Rumble and get over onto that platform. But there's so many platforms from TikTok. I was doing TikTok there for a while, and there's just so much there that sometimes it's a lot. And even rethinking my lives, because my lives, I really want to bring in more interactive energy into my lives and have people interactive in my lives. So I'm looking at or thinking of like even doing lives maybe once a week or twice a week, more so than every single day, and do pre-recorded messages and post them up, like record them and then post them up and do things that way and post them up through my YouTube station. And for me, it's bringing in a little bit more organization, which is something. And also looking at ways of allowing my brand to grow, because I really want the Guru Mama brand to grow and to grow in a way to being more of a connective spiritual community, but also one that is wanting to bring in other elements to it within that spiritual realm, whether it's paintings or doing some other creative um, modalities. So bringing in a little bit of other things into it. And so I'm working on different ideas of what it is that I want to begin to create. I'm not an artist. If I'm going to do a thing on art or painting, it'll probably be okay. This is what I learned, and this is what I'm passing on to you. Basically, I'm not a trained artist or anything like that. Or if I'm going to go into, say, knitting things or crocheting, I don't know, or felting or something, it's wanting to show you something and adding it a little bit more creativeness into my YouTube channel. So it's great that I'm sitting here each and every day and I'm with you and I love it. But I want to add in more. I want to add in more creativity and more interactiveness within my community, and so that I get the feedback. And for me, in what I do, and I think with anybody who does this type of work, and if we're out there in front, is yeah, you want the feedback. You want to know when people are there and are watching, or are they interested? Are they not interested? These things are important in order to help maybe find the audience that is interested in what I'm saying, or learn how to course correct within my own self in bringing you better information, better knowledge, the whole bit. So this is where I feel my energy is heading. And the other part, I think, with this Venus retrograde on Pluto is really the last time it was in November in Scorpio, 1986. It's revealing a path of destiny and really looking at where financially and relationships and um, finding that place to be revealed and weighing out a lot. And weighing out things that work and don't work within your world, and restructuring and looking at that restructuring. Not that you have to make a be all, decision right at this time, but we are going to be going into the new year with 3 retrogrades, and we're also going to be going into the new year with Jupiter in Pisces. I mean, this is going to be really bringing in some expansion, some newness that's there. And plus Jupiter is the ruler and the co-ruler with Neptune. Neptune's there. So this is bringing in a little bit of sprinkles on top, especially for the Pisceans. And I feel too, because Pluto is slowly wrapping things up. I mean, he's going to be there for a few more years yet, for Capricorn, but he's wrapping a lot of things up near the end of Capricorn. So there's things that are wrapping up there, and I think the Caps can really feel it because he's been there since about 2008. So you've been really revitalizing and restructuring a lot within your own lives. And this, with this energy, and with even with Aquarius, um I find with Saturn being there, we are wanting things to happen so quickly. We're wanting things to happen now. We want the changes, we want the revolution, we want all of this. And that's, with Uranus coming in. But Saturn really works on his time. He is the timekeeper and the karmic ruler. And he really is structuring things in a timely manner and getting us to really look at the types of changes in that we do want in society. I mean, we don't want to go all gangbusters and just, change everything, like they're trying to do with electric cars. Let's everybody own electric cars, but we don't have an infrastructure for those cars at this time. We don't have generators to generate enough electricity. If everybody had an electric car and plugged it in all at the same time, it could blow the grid. So this is looking at this time of in between, the in between world, and we're loading programs and looking at what we are wanting to look at and process, and keeping a very peaceful energy within ourselves, a very peaceful way of looking at the world, even when the world might feel like it's totally out of control, and being prepared and not losing control, and not um ending up in a crazy way or a crazy world. So this is looking at how you are playing with the traditions and your traditions, your relationships, and feeling which things which are, looking at the things that are working or not working for you. But it's also, within this in betweenness, I feel it's where we are wanting to go on the barge to the other side, but we still are looking, do we have all the things to go on? Are all our leaks fixed upon this? And is the wind right, or do we have to wait for another tide to come in to take us out, and the wind to change direction? And what is over, and what is it, that we are, I put down dark game, and I was trying to figure out what the dark game was, but I know, like, what is the game over, what isn't game over, what is it that we're trying to play, what is it that we're trying to do, right? And here comes Mateus. Yes.
Did you find my cookie or no?
No, I didn't, because I didn't leave the house. It's too cold. And so we got to tap into a lot and tap into our intuition. And even though there might be some weird warmongering kind of energy that's there, the divine is there. The divine energy is there, and that's kind of like that in betwixt world. It is, it's when I teach the fairy world, and it's that sort of in between kind of world, and we're coming into that connection, and we have a choice. Which road do you want to take? When we go into the fairy realm, we have choices of what road we want to take and where we want to sail on to. And this is that in betwixt kind of world of discovering and finding that truth and that enlightenment and that alignment within our own selves, so that we are able to really listen to our own intuition and what is happening. And what is divine telling me to do at this moment? What is feeling right? And it's not to prove anything to anyone. I think we've learned that, or we are learning that we don't have anything to prove to anybody. It is what it is, and it is what we do. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you do, you do. That's your thing. And not to get caught up in the crazy. And switching, and things are going to be switching up fast. But there's a lot of fear, and there's going to be a lot of crazy little fear mongering and warmongering kind of energy, but we can't get hung up in that chatter and the crazy noise and that buzziness that's all up in here. And it's kind of very it's a lot. It's a lot, right? So we can't get lost in that, because if we get lost in all of that craziness or in that fear mongering energy, we're going to disconnect from that which we know is true. Because entering a year with a lot of retrogrades, entering a year that has with Venus retrograde, and Mercury will be retrograde, and then we have Uranus retrograde, and we have that square. This is understanding the energies of Saturn, and understanding that energy of what Saturn has us to focus. And it's extraordinary, and it's expansive, and it is where because it is the Aquarius energy, and that Aquarius energy is very expansive, right? It is, Pisces is expansive. It has no boundaries, and that's where Jupiter is. And Jupiter is this benevolent energy of transformation and change. And then we have Aquarius is that, it's that thinker of wanting to make sure, are we doing things right? Are we in alignment or not alignment? Are we too far ahead or too far behind? And this is where the societies and talk and changes and false expectations are there, and we were all going to get through this. And this is where everything's going to get, we're going to get through this craziness lickety split. That's what everybody thought. But Saturn had something different. Saturn had a different way of looking at it and saying, you know what, right now you're here, we're on the highway, but there's this great big overload that's there. Yes, focusing on the heart and not in the mind is going to be an extremely important piece as we're going through this year. This is why you're seeing a lot of heart issues and things like that coming up for people through this. And we're wanting things to so-called return to normal. And everyone, we're sorting out and we're going our way and we're doing our thing. And as we're going through this week is an extremely transformational week. This week is a week of that, I'm going to call it that in-betweeks kind of world. It is that I keep on getting the fairy realm. So the fairy realm is coming through and having us to connect with the earth, connect with, bundle up, go outside. I know it's minus 33. I had to go take out all the garbage and everything else, and I was just like, but once I was bundled out and out there, it was cold. Yes, I know, but it wasn't all that bad. It was allowing me to connect, and the sky is blue, and it's frosty, and it's twinkly, and all this, the snow is glistening through it all. But for us, this is where we have to connect. And evidently, the thing about Saturn, they didn't get the memo. The memo, Saturn doesn't work on our time. So we need to go into that kind of wonderland, that kind of connection area where we can come into a flow. Yes, that raising our vibrations, yoga and things like that. What are you eating? What are you nourishing your body with is so, so important. And allowing yourself that time. I didn't go on Facebook very much this weekend. I just went in and I just liked and stuff like that. I didn't do much posting or anything because I just felt I needed to disconnect. And I'm going to find that I don't know about Facebook right now. It feels funny. I'm getting that funny feeling that something's up with this. So I'm getting my weird funny feeling, kind of the same funny feeling I got about doing markets and stuff like that. So there are changes that are going to be happening and going to be going on, and how you are wanting to create or even promote your business, especially online. And so I feel like there is a better way. And this is where we have to, where Saturn allows us to work in Saturn's time, and learning to work in this Saturn time means we're coming into a kind of different flow. And that different flow brings us into a different light. And that different light gets us into a different way of thinking and connecting. Because when we go into Saturn's time and come out of man's time, we're entering into the God realm, because just on the other side of Saturn is the God realm. And that's where Uranus is. That's where the revolutionary energy is. That's where the changes are. That's where we can do the manifestations. And the manifestations of out of the ego, not within the ego. And this is where it's not like I want to manifest and go work on the beach. That I don't know. It doesn't feel right. And yeah, it's great to be on the beach. Trust me, I know it's great to be on the beach, but it's coming into where we expect that we said something, this is going to happen, and the results, and delivered the next day in some kind of box. But Saturn doesn't work like that. And Saturn is going to take its own sweet time in Aquarius, and really entering the last part of its tenor. This is he's in there for 2.5 years, but it doesn't leave Aquarius until March of 2023. So we're in this in betwixt time. We're in this time of learning to work with our Saturn, learning to work so that we can flow into a new way, into a uncharted. Because this is where our ancestors looked at the stars and looked at the ocean. There are uncharted territories. There's uncharted stars and galaxies that are there for us to connect with. Not necessarily go on a spaceship and leave, but with Saturn, with a slow moving planet. So you are going to slow down. You move at a pace. And like I said, being stuck on the highway behind this great big overhaul, if you've ever been behind a moving a house down the middle of the highway, and you can't go by that house. I'm sorry. There's this house being, going down Deerfoot Trail, or going down, the QE2. You can't get around it. You got to stay there. So the results, this is where I was, to deliver why maybe we're not cooperating, and get us into a cooperative way. Saturn is like that, to hand you. You're not going to get past him, but until you can move with it, and that you're fine with the flow. You're fine with that ease. You're fine with that creativity that is going to come in. And at times you're going to feel scared, because there is this, when you go into the fairy realm and you go into this energy, there is a darkness there, but it's not the darkness that is going to overtake you and consume you to a way that brings in craziness or egotisticalness, but it's a darkness that comes in of the mother, that wraps her beautiful shawl around you to make sure that you are going to be safe through your travels. That's where it is. And that's where this energy comes through. And when we do this, this is where, that revolutionary planet, is coming through. And Saturn, it's like that in that Aquarius always want, Aquarius like the status quo, but with Uranus it's the best effects. And with this, and this is where, because Saturn is in its own sign, is coming in to really allow us to move in a direction that allows us to actually connect with our intuition, connect truly within our own selves to the I know. I know what is true for me. I know. And the great upset and changes are not going to move as fast as we would like. And it's frustrating. And to many, it's overwhelming. So it's understanding that not everybody's going to be in that flow. It's like somebody going into a riptide, and instead of, and they fight it instead of learning, to go swimming on their side and go with it, and then they can get out of it, right? It's a scary thing, because it's like you are feeling like you're totally losing control. And a riptide is it's a crazy shit. But this is where it's understanding. It could pull you down and it could take you under, or you could go and you say, no, I'm going this way, and then I can swim out. And trusting in that. It's like, right now you go into a skid. You don't, everybody wants to overcorrect and overcorrect and overcorrect. There's no more overcorrecting. Go with that skid. Go with it, and then you'll correct into the destination that you need to go. That's what Saturn is doing. And what do you want to do with your life? And that's where that Saturn Uranus is, and has teaching us since and through 2021, but brought it back a roaring height and a halt. And what's really focusing us and asking questions: what do you want our world to look like as a society? You as an individual. This is where, in my peek into 2022, and I said this 2022 is really going to be a work on self. A work on self, because you have to be enlightened. You want an enlightened society, you have to be enlightened, but not to be enlightened in an egotistical asshole way, like I'm enlightened, but in a very loving, harmonious, gentle way. And this is where, when you ask yourself, like the person, what do you want your life to be like and look like? And, it's like, oh, I want this and I want that and I want that. And it's like, Saturn goes, well, what can you work with now? What are the steps that you need to do now? Like, it's like, for me, for exercise, it's always a process. It's always, it's a huge undertaking. One, because I have a lot of injuries in my body. Yeah. Yeah. As a kid, I did dumb shit. And this is where it's like, okay, I need to learn how to go more with a restorative, more with an easy flow, than trying to think that I'm 21 again, which I totally am not. Neither is my body. And try and do things that I know my knees and that can't do. So this is where you might hit a bump in the road, that something comes in, or you're in limbo. But it's not for you to go back to what, you were doing if you got fired or something like along that line. But it is not to take it lying down, but getting back on board. So this is part of what Saturn is teaching us. Now is maybe there is not getting, it is not, getting back on board, but what you want to do is take this opportunity to center yourself and focus on things you want to do. What would you do with your life if you could? And not all of us would, if we had, what am I trying to say? It's like getting into that flow. It's like when I started this business, I had to go on EI. I lost my job. I had to go on EI. I went on EI. I took some courses through EI to create this. And sometimes, when the EI ran out, and I had to look at part-time jobs. And so those part-time jobs, until I could actually get into a flow of working my company to where it is now. And not saying it's perfect, and I'm not nearly where I want to be. I still want to grow by leaps and bounds, and there's still so many mountains and peaks I want to go to, but I got to start where I am right now, and where I'd like to create at this time. So this is looking at the resources I have right now and look at what you have to work with right now and what could you and what would you and do with your life if you could, working with what you have right now. So right now I have an iPhone. I use an iPhone. I use my computer for creating or for filming things. And so this is like, okay, what else can I start to do with this? So learning new things and learning new technologies. And honestly, maybe there's going to be a surprise. Maybe you're going to find actually a lot more resources there for you, or you're not more, connected to people, and then all of a sudden you're taking courses or you're taking different new enlightened meditations or something, and you find more people that are along with your aspirations than you ever have before. And that's part of the Saturn flow, and that's where we're entering into. So this week, don't get caught up in the crazy. Don't get caught up in, because there's going to be a lot of warmongering and um nuttiness that is going to come at us. We got to stay centered. We got to stay in our knowingness, and we got to stay in our alignment and come forth and know that the mother is putting her shawl around us to comfort us and keep us safe and keep us warm through this time. And more of an aligning is coming in for us, and looking at what motivates us and to build up our confidence to do what is truly in our hearts to do, and staying in that alignment, which will bring us a lot more than we ever thought it would. So have a blessed Monday, everybody, and may the Lord and the Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you in all that you say, and all that you be, and all that you do. My readings are on sale until the end of this week, until December 31st, and then they go back up to regular price. And the fairy workshop starts on January 10th. So if you're interested in the fairy workshop, and have a blessed one, everybody. And we will talk to you. Well, we'll see if we'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll see how the energies flow. Have a blessed one, and bye bye for now. Love you all.